I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. MAGA Republican Alise Stefanik wrote a letter to the Judicial Committee in New York to complain about the judge presiding over the New York Attorney General civil fraud case against Donald Trump. You don't get much more pathetic than that when you have a MAGA Republican Congresswoman complaining on behalf of Donald Trump, a twice impeached, four-time indicted MAGA cult leader, and she is trying to call for disciplinary actions to be taken against Judge Engoron for the rulings that he made. I want to go through with you this letter that Alise Stefanik, this MAGA Republican Congresswoman, wrote, because it is riddled with just MAGA lie after MAGA lie. If it wasn't embarrassing enough that she was even writing this letter to begin with. So here's the letter, pull it up, from Alise Stefanik, and it's written to the New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct, and she writes a judicial complaint against Judge Arthur F. Engoron. And you think about it, because Congress is supposed to be a co-equal branch of government, yet these MAGA House Republicans have turned the House of Representatives into the legal defense team of Donald Trump, a former individual who disgraced the office. I mean, it's just so pathetic. Here's what Stefanik writes to the Judicial Commission in New York. She goes, "Dear Commission members," and by the way, I'm going to rebut one by one all of the stuff that she's saying here. "Dear Commission members, I write today to express my serious concerns about the inappropriate bias and judicial intemperance shown by Judge Arthur F. Engoron in New York's lawsuit against Donald Trump." So just think about it. Every other judge in the United States of America, except like 3 or 4 who do every single thing that Donald Trump tells them to do, they say are corrupt, they say are part of the deep state. Nobody else complains about them. Republicans, Democrats, I mean, people have been going before Judge Engoron in his court now for a very long period of time. Same thing with Judge Tanya Chutkan, same thing with Judge Juan Merchan, same thing with Judge David Carter in California, same thing with all of these judges that Donald Trump attacks. Yet when Donald Trump goes in front of them, all of a sudden now they are corrupt, deep state operatives. The same way, by the way, Donald Trump refers to people like Bill Barr, his former attorney general, the same way Donald Trump refers to anyone who is not just 100% obedient to MAGA. She then says the judge's bizarre behavior has no place in our judicial system. The judge's bizarre behavior. I'm not really sure what's bizarre about the judge. What's bizarre is when Donald Trump attacks Judge Engoron's law clerk and lies and says that Judge Engoron's law clerk, why are you even writing about the judge's law clerk while the trial is taking place, that she is having some sort of affair or relationship with Chuck Schumer, the Democratic senator, and then spreading all of these lies about Judge Engoron and then making racist names for the New York Attorney General. I'm not even going to repeat them here, and posting all of those things every single day. I'm trying to understand whose behavior is bizarre here. But with MAGA, it's all projection and confession. Then it says, where Judge Engoron is not honoring the defendant's rights to due process and a fair trial, these serious concerns are exacerbated by the fact that the defendant is the leading candidate for the president of the United States, and appears the judicial system is being politicized to affect the outcome of the campaign. No, what it appears is that Donald Trump engaged in persistent and systemic fraud. What it appears is that Donald Trump led and aided and abetted an insurrection against our country. What it appears, and because it is a fact, that Donald Trump paid off a porn star or multiple adult film, the Playboy one too, and then Stormy Daniels, to cover up an affair before the 2016 election and then mischaracterized it on his books. What it appears, because it actually happened, is that a jury, a federal jury in the state of New York, and grand juries across the country have been presented with facts, and grand juries have reached conclusions By the way, a federal jury in New York finding Donald Trump liable for sexual assault. But what? The jury, the federal jury in New York, they're deep state operatives, and so's the one in Fulton County, Georgia, and what? And so's the one in Washington, D.C., and so's the one in the Southern District of Florida, and so's the judge in California, and so are Donald Trump's former lawyers who are all testifying against him, and so is Mark Meadows. But Alise Stefanik, you and Jim Jordan and MAGA Mike, who uses the Covenant of Eyes app to determine if his content is sinful on his phone, who doesn't have a checking and savings account. Y'all hold all of the answers right here. And then I want to go into, okay, what are some of the main points that she's making right here? Okay, Judge Engoron ridiculously found Mar-a-Lago was only worth somewhere between $18 and $27.6 million. Any Zillow.com search shows that nearly 20 acres of prime real estate in Palm Beach, touching both the Atlantic Ocean and the Intercoastal Waterway, is worth exponentially more than $18 to $27.6 billion. And Judge Engoron had in his hand the sworn deposition of Palm Beach real estate agent Lawrence Mones, who said the Trump organization's valuations were reasonable and below my estimate for the market value. But you know what, Alise Stefanik? You know where the estimate came from that Judge Engoron did? You think it came from Zillow.com? Do you think it came from Judge Engoron? Was Judge Engoron acting as a tax assessor or a bank and making valuations? Was it coming from? No, it was coming from the Trump organization. Because, I don't know, maybe the testimony of the Trump organization, former Vice President Anthony Flores versus a random real estate agent where the Trump organization person responsible for it said that the Trump organization valued the property at $27.6 million because Donald Trump executed a deed, and the deed put encumbrances on the property to treat it as a commercial property that says that the Trump organization hereby intends to forever use this property, Mar-a-Lago, as a commercial club. And based on that representation, Alise Stefanik, it was Donald Trump who devalued the property. And here's the thing. I would think that actually, if Donald Trump didn't do that, if he didn't devalue his own property so he could pay less property taxes by executing formal legal documents, we could have a rational conversation and say, could Mar-a-Lago be worth $150 million to $250 million? Perhaps. I think that's actually possible. It's certainly not worth $1.5 billion. It's not the most valuable property in all of the United States of America, but you could convince me that it's $150 to $250 million. However, it was devalued by Donald Trump to pay less property taxes, and the valuation came from the Trump organization. So the issue is that Trump is saying to the tax assessor one thing, and then he's putting another valuation on a statement of financial condition, and then he's saying another thing in the hallways that it's worth $1.5 billion. So no, the fair market value of a property is never 3,000 to 5,000% more than the tax assessor's appraisal. And if he wants to pay the property taxes on $1.5 billion, go ahead. That's part of the case as well, that it's both devaluing and inflating the valuation. And by the way, when Judge Engoron went over this with Trump's lawyer, Christopher Kise, even Trump's own team has to concede this as a point. And as you go through it again, one of the other things on the letter as well that they complain about is they say that Judge Engoron, Judge Engoron made crystal clear he doesn't care what the defendant or his attorneys have to say. Indeed, Judge Engoron illegally gagged him. Judge Engoron told the defendant, quote, "We are not here to listen to what you have to say." Now, let's deal with the facts. If Judge Engoron truly said, "We are not here to listen to what you have to say," period, to Donald Trump, that would be concerning. What Judge Engoron said, though, however, is we're not here to listen to whatever it is that you want to say. We are here to listen to your answers to the questions that are being asked to you by the New York Attorney General. And then you can answer the questions from your lawyers. This is a trial. Judge Engoron did not say, I'm not here to listen to you, period. He said, I'm here to listen to your answers, to take evidence and testimony. That's the issue. And so when you have to cherry pick quotes, which is what the MAGA Republicans do, they selectively edit things, they cherry pick quotes, it just shows that it's not reasonable and rational. And that's why I'm happy to have the real honest discussion about what Mar-a-Lago could be valued at if he didn't deflate the valuation. Similarly, if we want to talk about the gag order and the limits of the gag order, have an honest conversation, though, that Judge Engoron did not say, I'm not here to listen to you. He said, I'm here to listen to your answers. And then one of the other things that Alise Stefanik cites in here as well is that Judge Engoron ruled on summary judgment before the trial started that Donald Trump is liable. That's what's called summary judgment. There is nothing improper about granting a summary judgment where there is undisputed evidence, and that's what Judge Engoron did. Donald Trump will have the opportunity to file an appeal, and it can go through the regular process. But the issue is when you see the testimony, Alise Stefanik, of Eric, Don Jr., Donald Trump, Jeff McConney, and Alan Weisselberg, right? Those are like the five key people. McConney, the former controller, Weisselberg, the former CFO, Don Jr., Donald Trump, and Eric were the various co-trustees. Weisselberg was some point of the revocable trust, which oversees all of the entities. And we got testimony from Ivanka. But where all of them stay, and look, Stefanik, you want to say Zillow.com says all of this. Look, if they were running a successful business enterprise, okay, like you claim they are, the CEOs that I know, business leaders I know, they know their statement of financial conditions. They're not guessing. They're not just saying, I just let the professionals do that. I don't look at my own numbers. No, they would look at the statement of financial conditions and they would be able to opine, and they would do a modicum of diligence, I'm not saying that they've got to like memorize it. I get that professionals can help, but Donald Trump, Don Jr., Eric, Weisselberg, McConney said that Weisselberg told him to commit fraud. Weisselberg is a convicted felon who pled guilty. And then all the Trump said that they don't review the statement of financial conditions, that they didn't put it, that they just sign their names to things. So you have that, which is their set of facts, against what the documents say, which show differences in valuations to the tax authorities, to the banks, to the lenders, to the insurance companies. And then you had testimony from the insurance companies. You had testimony from the banks. You had testimony from the various interested third parties who say that those representations were material to their decision making. So undisputed facts. That's why summary judgment is granted. And as Engoron said, Trump's got to show a scintilla of evidence, which he did not. So Alise Stefanik, what a embarrassing and pathetic letter, but there is no depths to the humiliation that this MAGA movement will do when it comes to their fear of Donald Trump. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 2 million subscribers. Thanks to your support. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch and have a good day.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.